Welcome to Season 3 of Locker Room for Growth, a show with human-centric conversations that include compelling stories, unique professions, and those who set the tone for living with a positive attitude. I'm your host, Debbie Elicksen. Please subscribe to the show and check out our past episodes and clips. Follow me on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Threads, and more. Now let's meet our next guest.
Greg Thomas was born in Texas, but received an athletic scholarship to the University of Arkansas and became the first Black starting quarterback after serving as a running back in his rookie season. Under the guise of Coach Ken Hatfield with the Razorbacks, Thomas amassed 3,140 combined yardage and 23 touchdowns. The team earned a winning record in his 4 seasons. His book, No Doubting Thomas, Hawg Whisperer, My Arkansas Memoirs, chronicles his time with the Division I team. Besides coaching basketball, Thomas is suited up as a truancy specialist to re-engage students to finish school, and he is also a substance abuse at-risk counselor. Please welcome Greg Thomas.
How you doing, Debbie? Thank you. Thank you.
This is going to be great. Football.
Let me back you up a little bit. I never played running back.
Oh, okay, because it said that in
somebody
the stats.
That's somebody on Wikipedia did that.
Oh,
you can't trust Wikipedia.
All right.
I never did. That's how people get misinformation.
Okay.
So that's a Wikipedia thing. I went there as a quarterback. The only reason I went to the University of Arkansas was to play.
Right.
And so I had no knowledge upon my arrival that they had not had a Black quarterback there. And then when I found out they had one in 74 or 76, that was Martin Lamont, and then he was there for 1 year and then left. And then it was another 10 years before I came. So it is historic in a sense. It's amazing to me that we had a program for 100 years and had not had a Black quarterback there.
Right.
So it is what it is. And it was a great opportunity. It was a great experience. I left there not knowing much, but the all-time winningest quarterback still to this day, 4 winning seasons, and met the best brothers in the world that you'd have from another mother. That's the best thing out of everything. It's the friendships and the bond that were built with those gentlemen.
And I have to ask, because you are from Texas.
Yes, ma'am.
Did your family think you were being disloyal when you opted to be a Razorback over an Aggie or a Longhorn?
All my family members were Longhorn fans. And so when I signed to go play at Arkansas, I didn't tell my father. I didn't even tell him I went on the trip. And then when I got back home, I had to, during the press conference, they gave me like a 30-minute window before they shared it on television. And I had to run home to my dad and tell him that I had signed with Arkansas. And honestly, he didn't speak to me for like 2 weeks. Not a word. He was literally afraid.
2 weeks.
He was afraid of what I would experience.
Yeah.
His boot camp with the Army was in the Arkansas Hills. So he knew the difference in the way people treated and were treating other Black folks at that time. Mm-hmm. So for me not to tell him, it was a risk. And for 2 weeks, he didn't speak to me.
Yeah.
Because he was afraid that I would say something, do something to put myself in jeopardy. And, I did that anyway. But, I understood it later. I didn't understand at 18 what was going on. I just wanted an opportunity to play ball. I could come home every other week, state of Texas, play on television. It's an amazing opportunity to see and hear these things. And then you don't think about the backdrop or the history. It never came into play.
So Division I college football is literally bigger than pro football when you look at the size of the stadiums. Can you even put into words what it is like that first moment you step on a field?
Electric. The first game I attended in Arkansas was in '84 as a freshman in Little Rock. I didn't have much knowledge of the school or the history. And we have a chant where it's called the Hogs. And that's when everyone in the stadium, 55,000 people, stand up and they call the Hogs. But it's a unique interaction. You know, the cheerleaders lean to one side and they wave their hands and they, you know, woo pig. And man, I was scared the first time I ever heard that. I mean, it was exciting, but what the heck is going on around here? And an entire stadium stands up and calls the Hog. And it's still, till this day, a unique experience to hear the Hogs call.
And playing on a Division I team is one thing, but what also does it mean to feel that presence of the team's history and have that Razorback logo on your helmet?
It's special. It's unique. We're the only Razorbacks in all of college sports. We're the only Razorback. So there's 100 Tigers, 100 Wildcats, you know, there are a couple Lions. There's only one Razorback. And its uniqueness is what draws the state together. It's special. It is so special to put the Hog uniform on and to go out and represent the university in the state of Arkansas. People who don't get a chance to experience it don't know what it's like. I mean, it is totally a blessing to go out there and represent the entire state.
It's nuts to me that it has not been that long since Black athletes were considered quarterback material. I do remember Randall Cunningham with the Philadelphia Eagles, and yet the guy that broke the pro football was actually Willie Thrower, although they do talk about somebody else as well. But, you know,
Marlon Briscoe was the first one drafted. Yeah.
And that's three. And then Randall Cunningham is what, you know, when was that? 80s?
35 years later.
Yeah. So today it seems really ridiculous when you look at Patrick Mahomes and Lamar Jackson and all the others. And even with Division I football, do you feel now that there is a change, or is that underlying prejudice still there?
I still think it's still there. If I may, 3 was the first time that I became a starter, and I was in high school. And there had not been a black quarterback in my high school in 1983. 2 years earlier, in 1, Mike Flores became the first Hispanic quarterback in San Angelo. So we're looking at a history long, 100 years of playing ball. So in 83, I get an opportunity to play. The team is real good. We're one of the top teams in the state. And I remember my coach telling me before the season he couldn't start me. There were things bigger than football that were taking place. Okay? He's also was the first coach in the state of Texas to have an integrated team that won the state championship. So he had a little bit of history with putting together a team and playing whomever he thought was the best player at that position. And here I am 16 years later, he's telling me I can't start you. But eventually you'll get in and we'll just play from that point on. He also told me at that time that I was one of 13 or 14 in the entire state of Texas that was black playing quarterback. 83, this was not, and unless you lived in a black city or played at a predominantly black school,
like a
I was
Grand
one
Lake
of
State,
13.
yeah.
But it was one of 13 high schools in the state of Texas. When I go to Arkansas in 84, I'm probably one. I couldn't tell you how many high schools in the state of Arkansas had a black quarterback, maybe 1 or 2 in 84. Now, Arkansas State had one, but they weren't considered a school. You know, that was a D2 school. They're not a program. The Razorbacks is a program. When I went to Arkansas, I was probably 1 of 3 in the entire state of Arkansas. And so you're looking at a different face, a different representation on a state at that time was not ready for it. And so it was as much prejudice, as much bias. And then when people don't see it, they don't know what to expect. So in 84, I get a chance to play as a freshman. And, you know, Coach Hatfield had to slow that. I mean, he had pressure to slow that train down. He doesn't speak on it, but he was told to slow that train down. This is too much for the state. And, you know, and if you know the history of Arkansas, it's a little bit different. It's a little, you know, in 63, they were still telling black kids they couldn't go to school there. Yet the president had to send in troops. So we're looking at a time frame where people were still mean, ignorant, hateful, afraid, and stuck in their own ways. And so in 84, I know he was told to slow it down, man. Hey, what are you doing? The goal was to bring a different brand of football. Let's bring this team together, state together. But not everyone was behind that. And we'd be foolish to say that they were. But, I give him credit because he promised me that when he signed me. You come here, I will play you at quarterback. And he did. He had to go through some of the same things. He got the same letters, I know. He got the same hate mail. He dealt with it the way he dealt with it. I dealt with it through our team. And I had some great teammates, still best friends today, that protected me in many ways. I can't thank my teammates enough. And when I should have been afraid, I wasn't, because I knew I had some support. I had some guys that were watching my back.
Yeah, I can't even imagine the pressure Hatfield had on his
No.
shoulders about that. And
Yeah.
and he was probably, I don't know, when I think about Michael Vick, because he was amazing, but he was also a different quarterback. He wasn't traditional. He wanted to run, but he was successful at it. And you see a little bit of that in Mahomes too. But back in Vick's day, they wanted to change him into the traditional quarterback. So did you find there was pressure on telling you how you could play quarterback?
Play out how to play quarterback.
Or you just do it naturally?
How to be seen and where I could go, couldn't go, who I could be around. Yes, ma'am. It was pressure. And I put pressure on myself to try to be more traditional so we could get some of that negativity off the program, off the individual, off the quarterback position. And sometimes you start trying to do those things that the general public wants you to do just to be a part of that program. I was a running quarterback also. It wasn't that we couldn't pass. It just wasn't the style of play that he wanted to have. Then you start hearing those rumors. Is he smart enough? Can he decipher defenses? Can he throw the ball? Man, I could do all those things. And if you go back, I'm still 10, 12 years older than Vic. Go back and look at it. I throw the heck. I was strong, could throw, I could run, but it was people's perception and then people's ignorance and people's fear that has slowed down many different changes. We understand, nothing's constant but change, but it takes some folks, some programs, some leaders, different vision to step out there and try to make difference. I think this year we have 15 of the 30 NFL quarterbacks are of some minority descent.
Yeah.
First time they've ever had that. And there's a time we can sit back and say now that the best player can play.
Yeah.
But the best player didn't always play. The best player didn't always play.
Right?
Well, you look at Terry Bradshaw, he would tell you that Rod Gilliam was better than he was. He would tell you that. Yeah. I remember a young man as a youth, I would watch, here was Rod Gerald here in Dallas, and he left the state of Texas because they wouldn't give the black scholarships here, and he went to Ohio State. Come on, man, I got to go to Ohio State. It's amazing how thought processes have changed, but, likewise, the more things change, the more they stay the same. So you still get those people that don't believe that the different criticisms, you get the different analysis and conversations, and it depends on what room you're in, how they would talk on. Well, if we take the game last night and we look at, the set, now the Rays, who was that last night? The Cowboys played against the Chargers. They don't want to give Dak any credit.
No.
But then they'll turn around and give excuses for Herbert playing the way he played. Come on, it's the same game. It's the same criticism you're going to give Dak, give it to Herbert. I mean, if Dak had thrown an interception last night and lost the game instead of Herbert, the airway will be blowing up today. So the perception and the criticism is still the same.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about that rivalry between Arkansas and Texas.
It's grand. I think it's more of a rivalry for Arkansas fans than it is for Texas.
Yeah.
Because Texas also has Oklahoma as a rival. Now, here in the future, next year, we'll all be in the same conference. But the hate as much. You can call it hate. It's the same as respect. It's just it depends on who's talking about. It is there. It is there. When we were in the same conference, Texas got the better of Arkansas, and sometimes Arkansas was the better ball club, but we didn't win the game. And we have our thought process. Like I said, I'm born and raised in Texas. Almost all the referees were always from Texas, and Texas always got some kind of favorable call. Now, unless it was a blowout, Texas was going to win that game. There aren't many games where it was a touchdown or less that Arkansas won. Now, you can go look at videos, you can go figure, you look at all the articles you want to. Unless Arkansas blew them out, if it was a close game, some kind of way, Texas always won those games. But it's a bigger rival for Arkansas because we were the only school outside of the state of Texas at that time. And so it was a great rival. Still love it today. I throw the horns sign down. I don't care about. I put that thumb. It builds the football world. You have to have some kind of rival.
Oh yeah, it's hard to put into words the absolute loyalty and support alumni has for their Division I team. And I don't know if you can describe it, but the only thing I could say to somebody outside of football is that it would be as the only thing that comes close would be the, Beyonce's Bayhive or Taylor Swift's Swifties, because that absolute rabid support, unwavering support,
yes,
where there's nothing that will make you not support them to the end of the earth. Is there a way to describe it? Is it because it comes from smaller smaller communities, or what is that?
It galvanizes community. I mean, if you have a good program or a successful program, it can unite. It's like a beautiful song. When you put that music and that words and it comes together, it gives you an entirely different feeling, a belongingness that is second to none. And when you choose a sect, let's say the Los Angeles Lakers, if you put on that purple and gold and you have fans in Boston and Minnesota and Miami, it's crazy amazing. And then when you visit those cities and you see that following, now you multiply that by 20 for a college. So pros have their following, but it's not like Nebraska. It's not like LSU. You mentioned Tennessee. Here in the South, like Texas, I mean, we have a state divided. Now, imagine this. You have the Longhorns and you have the Aggies, all right? But you also had University of Houston. You have Baylor. You have Texas Tech. You have Rice. You have SMU. But the state is still divided between Texas and Texas A&M. It's amazing the support you can get. You said you went to the Bush Airport and you saw nothing but Aggies and Longhorns.
Nothing about the NFL team at all.
Okay, go to Arkansas. You will not find any of those other programs.
No.
You see, we're not going to celebrate. You could be right there in West Memphis, which is actually in Arkansas. And the University of Memphis is across the river. They're not going to sell Memphis stuff in West Memphis. So the following is unwavering. It is the most beautiful sight you can see when you go play in. We were playing in Texas, whether basketball at Reunion Arena, or we'll play at the Cotton Bowl, or at that time with Texas Stadium, and we have half the stadium, or 70% in red and white. Or we go down to play Houston or Rice down in Houston, and they put 45,000 and 30,000 will be from Arkansas. It's crazy beautiful to see that, to walk into another team's stadium and have more fans. Unbelievable.
So Ken Hatfield, what kind of coach was he, and what did you learn from him about yourself?
He's a God-fearing man. That's number one, okay? And I think that got him in more trouble than anything else, because he's the most successful coach we've had play. a coach. He is the winningest coach of all the coaches there. But he's a God-fearing man. Second thing, if you have a belief system and you can get your players to believe in that belief system, all things are easy. I learned from him how to be more detailed and dedicated. I also learned how to stick to your guns. You stick to your gun. Come hell or hot water, he'll stick to his gun. If that's what he's believing in, he's going to stick to it. And that serves you well sometimes, and sometimes it doesn't serve you as well. But he made a promise to me, and I will always be honorable and appreciative. He made a promise, and he gave me an opportunity, and I got a chance to do what he said he was going to let me do.
I read in a September 2023 article in Seagate that reports that Black quarterbacks are still being underrated, which likely impacts their draft placement and professional salaries. So do scouts even watch a game if they go by these lists?
Well, it is.
Or is it just like
it's a business now,
system?
though.
It's a skewed system, right?
Yeah, it's a business. So that's the CEO of your company. So when you put it into those numbers, who are the CEOs? Okay, then you look at the consumer. Can I get my money back if I invested in this individual? It's a business. Now, that has nothing to do with statistics, okay? It has everything to do with corporate finance and how we can make this money back and how we can become popular. I'm not saying he can play or can't play. Do I want that to be the face of my organization? So it's different. I mean, when you put it into that perspective, as a player, you want the best player you can get. As a coach, you want the best player. But when you put it into a business sense, they do everything they can to see how that will sell. Then they make whatever decisions they have to. I was the face of the university in 1985 as a 19-year-old, a face of the entire state of Arkansas.
And you would have been eligible for draft in what, 87 or 88?
Then you had to go 4 years then. We didn't have eligibility for draft. You had to use up all your time. Now, I haven't told many people this publicly, but in 86, after we played in the Orange Bowl, I met with some people in Canada about playing in Canada following my junior year. But I wasn't ready to go play. You know, I'm about ready to graduate. You couldn't leave at that time. But I had people approach me after that about, what do you see yourself in the year? Do you think you'd like to come up here? We'll fly you in and do all that stuff. You don't think about it. I didn't have the business sense back then because everything was trying to find a way to win the conference. How do we get a chance to play January 1st in Dallas? That was my only goal, to get this program back into the Cotton Bowl. So I wasn't thinking about Canada. I was thinking about how can I help this team and my brother Hawg get bigger, stronger, faster, and represent, the state.
And you weren't drafted, were you, or were you?
Oh no.
Which is ridiculous if you guys were a winning team. And I mean, I looked it up in 1988, not one player was even drafted from Arkansas.
Right.
So what the hell?
With the style of play, number one, we ran the wishbone offense or the flex bone, and all the pro teams were running pro style. Now, Harbaugh came out about the same. I know I could throw the ball better than Harbaugh, but he played in the pro style in Michigan, okay? He had an entirely different coaching philosophy. So those guys got different opportunities. If you were playing in a pro style with a successful program, we'll move the black quarterback like they've always done. We'll just move you to another position, and then you can help the team, but not as that player. So I never try to look back at that because it's frustrating.
Yeah.
It's frustrating because it is what it is. And sometimes I think I was 30 years too early.
Well, chances are in those days, if you would have come up to the CFL, they would have had you in a different position than quarterback.
Well, I could have probably played quarterback because I talked to him about that. But again, why do I need to go to Canada? I mean, I went up there after next year. I went up there and met with a couple of executives, and I said, no, I'm going to go back and work on my master's instead. And I came back, went back to Texas and then back to Arkansas. But we had always been expected to move to another position if we wanted to play pro. Unless you were that prototype, 6'4", 220 and throw the ball 50 times a game. But then you had Doug Flutie.
Yeah.
You see,
Pretty.
or we got some other cats. I'm not going to throw their names out there, but they were on losing programs, but their stats were different because they were on losing programs, and they gave them a chance because they got a chance to see them at losing programs. But I was on a winning program, but we played a different style, so we're not going to give you a chance because unless you play running back or wide receiver or defensive back. And so when you're young and you're dumb and you're full of yourself, you say no. Instead of saying, hey, let me try to make this team. Let me keep going after it. By the time I was 23, 24, I said, I'm through with this rat race here. I'm not going to, I'll watch the other guys. And no, not bitter about it, but you often wonder about it when you sit back and look at it and just think, well, could I? I like to say, heck yeah, I could have played. But it wasn't meant to be at that particular point in time.
It's a business, so it depends on who's in that organization. And I don't know whether or not Major Harris, when he went up from West Virginia to try out for BC, he was a hell of a quarterback in college. And I'll never forget that championship game when Tony Rice led the Irish. But he had a shot and it didn't work out for him. Now, I don't know, but the thing is, so you can go up, they can give you a shot, but it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get the reps in practice. So if you don't get the reps in practice, you're not going to make the team.
Well, you can go do the scout team. That's how I made my head at the university as a freshman. I was told I'll be the number 3 coming in as a freshman, show up, and there's 12 other guys. Now I'm 12. I'm not number 3 when I signed. And so you do what you have to be seen when you're 1 of 12.
Yeah.
They already had 2 or 3 that they're looking to play with. So I went to the scout team, and I asked to run the scout team. I can get reps with the scout team, and I can also be seen. The defensive coordinator, defensive coaches saw that, and then they said, no, he needs to be up here playing with the other guys. And then Coach Hatfield said, all right, Greg, get with the second unit. I was familiar with the offense because I ran the same offense, in high school. And then 2 days later, I'm third string quarterback. And now I'm a play away from getting a chance to play. In game 3, I'm ready to play. They're grooming me to play. I'll play in game 3. Now the whole state sees something different. Now they're writing about it. Then that's when the pushback comes. How you going to let this cat play? He ain't been here. You got this dude who's been here for 4 years. Then you get other kind of craziness coming out. Then Hatfield has to deal with some of that. He don't talk about it. I got to deal with it. And I put it in the book. And, you see it for what it really is. And then you have to work your way through some of that stuff. But let me compete. Just let me compete.
Yeah.
Don't say I can't do this. Get out here and let me show you I can do this. And then if I can't do it, okay. But just to say no, because no, we're not going to do that. No, that's what the scout team did for me. He said, oh, look at him do this on the scout team against the best defense. He's doing this. Put him with our offense, see if he can do it with our regular offense. Then they said, oh, he can do this with our offense. Mm-hmm. Oh, well, let's do this. Oh, hold up. We ain't never done this before, man. Oh, I'm not thinking about that. They said, hold up. What are you doing? This hasn't been done here. And those were the conversations that were taking place behind closed doors.
Yeah.
That the public, till this day, still doesn't believe took place. And I'm telling you it did.
Yeah. It's heartbreaking.
And, well, but it's just football, right?
I know.
But it's just life. But it's also life. And
it's
people
life.
don't understand.
And
yes.
all professional sports are the players that just meet anyway. So
yes.
right.
But I wrote about it. That's why I wrote the book. The book took 2 years or 14 months to get it all on pen and paper and published, but it took 40 years to write.
Yeah.
Because of the frustration, the resentment, the mistrust, distrust from the university. because they really didn't want it out there. They will not publicly say that, but they didn't publicly endorse it. You see what I'm saying? They've told me individually the story needs to be told, but they wouldn't endorse it to be told. They wouldn't financially support it. So I did it by myself, self-published it. And so now it's won 3 different awards. It's been recognized. So it's an award-winning prose, let me say it like just to be teasing, but it's an award-winning book by independent publishers, by American writers, here soon by the DAG, Distinguished Author. Those are winning awards. So now people can take it on its merit. And so when you write about it, say, oh, that didn't take place. I had a person tell me that. Oh, that really didn't happen. Or Greg Thomas, you're not black. The Greg Thomas was white. I get those kind of responses from people saying, man, I've been black my whole life. What are you talking about? Oh, you're not the real Greg Thomas. The real Greg Thomas was white. Oh, really? Yeah. Just so they can fit their own mindset on how they can accept or deal with something. Yeah. But I wrote about it. And I wasn't negative. I just talked about those circumstances and situations. You can take away with it what you like. It still took place. This is a 18, 19, 21-year-old sharing some of the experiences that he had.
And just so you know, I'm going to put some of the YouTube highlights of your playing days.
Games we win. I think we lost a couple games, but we won a lot more than we lost. So show the winning games.
Yeah, I'll show the winning.
It is what it is. I'm glad I did it. Yeah. I'm glad it's on paper. It's in ebook, it's in print, and it's in audio book. I did all that. I'm not going to say I did. We did all that. When my wife and I's encouragement, Rebecca, we've done this in the 14-month period, put it in print, ebook, and audio book for people to read. Yeah. You know what I mean? And it's just something that I thought, my teammates told me to do it 40 years ago, and I just chatted and wrote it down and put situations down and put it away. And eventually we said, okay, we're going to put it on paper. But I did it also for my grandkids so they could see that, that their grandfather not only has a chance to have his picture on the university, but he did something that we can aspire to do.
It's your legacy.
Yeah. We call it thank you, man. You call it a legacy. I just call it, just being GT, just being great, just putting it out there. I wanted it to be like a page changer, so keep people interested in it. How do I go from chapter 1 to chapter 2? And I'm learning that. And I learned it with this first book. The second book we will start in April. There will be a book 2 discussing 26 other gentlemen's lives and the importance they had to a community and to a city and what they've done, humanitarian. And I'm hoping it will be better. I know it'll be a better book because it covers 26 other lives and the importance they had with a community.
So talk a little bit about what you're doing now and what kind of impact does it have now comparing football was a while ago, but now you're working with students and youth, and what kind of impact does that kind of work have on the students and also on yourself?
It's immeasurable because you don't see the outcome till 10, 12, 15 years down the road. Is my way and Greg's way of giving back, because I would not be here today if people had not done for me what I'm trying to do with these young people today. God is good. Let's say that. I'm totally blessed, been blessed my whole life. These young people keep you young. Let's say that. They keep you involved and helping them to have a chance to compete, not in football and basketball, although I'm a basketball coach, to compete in life. So when I say it's immeasurable, I don't see it a lot until young people come back. I've been here 28 years, and when the students come back and say, hey, coach, how you doing? Hey, Mr. Thomas, remember I got in this kind of trouble and I had to go do this, and we did this, and you did this. That brings tears to your eye. I read a note today from my principal. He received from a parent to nominate me for Coach of the Month.
Oh, wow.
You see what I'm saying? Those are the things that I just saw it. It was sent to me 2 weeks ago, and I didn't see it in the email. And my principal sent it today. That's when you know you're making a little bit of a difference.
Yeah.
And that's the best part of my job. I now work in the capacity of truancy with a team of 5. Lawrence Mann is my co-worker, and we have 2 other ladies, Charlie and Ms. D, and we do things to help young people that aren't competing. They've already quit. They're out of school. They've dropped out. They're struggling to find themselves. And then they come across our desk for non-attendance, or, you know, a principal or teacher see someone in the community and they say, hey, see if we can get this young person back in school. See what we can do to help them get a GED. See if we can help them find a trade. And then we go out and find those students, and then we do everything we can to get them re-engaged in their own future. And then let it go from there. And so when you get a young person that had, let's say, 14 credits or 23, and they quit school, and they're out there working at McDonald's or construction, and you bring them back and you get them to come back here, and then they graduate high school, financially, we've helped them $30,000 to $50,000 more. So now they can get their own place instead of living with mom and dad. Spiritually, we've helped them. That they can get up every day and don't feel like they're getting beat down. They get a chance to go out and have a smile on their face. They can work and achieve. It's a great, I like to say we don't do this for feeling. I like to do it for feeling. I want to feel good too. You know, I want them to feel good about themselves. I want them to be able to come back here and in 10 years and say, hey, I'm on Mr. Thomas' job. He done got too old. They can come back and do that because that's your best way of giving back.
Yeah.
You know, because I can't do this forever. And I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it that much longer. I'm honestly telling you that. I'm ready to sit down, write more books, go on speaking engagements, hang out with my grandkids. That's what I'm looking forward to today. Now, 35 years ago, 40 years ago, I was confused and lost and didn't know what was going on. You know, it was in the hustle, but this is where I am now. And young people need to have that kind of vision. We have to do a little bit more to help them feel like they're a part of this world. It's ever changing. It's crazy. It can be confusing, but we need to guide as best we can.
Yeah, and I see the principles of football behind that, because to me, that's what football has given a lot of the players that I know. But in a way, it's probably a blessing. This is the blessing
Yes,
that
ma'am.
you didn't get drafted and play pro football, because would you still be doing this today?
No. I tell you, you never know. Sometimes you need to thank God for unanswered prayer. If people can understand that, those were prayers that didn't need, hey, I got something else better for you to do.
Yeah.
Let's let you reach 3,000 kids. And let's let you impact 150. And of those 150, 20 of them will go out there and struggle and not make it. You'll get another 30 that will do okay. But you'll also have 100 of them that are aspiring, that are great parents, that are going to be teachers, CEOs, doctors, lawyers. And that's the number that you try to, you know, expect to work on. I don't work on the trying to get 1 out of 10. No, I'm trying to get 10 out of 10. I know I'm a batter in baseball. I want to have better than a 500 batting average.
Yeah.
But if you can bat the Mendoza line, you get paid millions of dollars. I want to bat 500 to 1,000. You know, I want to save as many. I want to impact and move as many people as I can, that they feel good enough about themselves, that they want to go out and work a job, have kids, raise those kids, and have those kids aspire to do something. I think that's what we're supposed to do.
Hallelujah. Thank you so much. It was so wonderful to have you on my show.
Thank you. I'm going to put it up there too. Look
Yes.
at that.
Yes.
Look at that.
I'll have a link to it in the YouTube.
No
thing.
Doubting Thomas. Hawg Whisperer.
Right on. Right on.
Thank you, ma'am. It's beautiful. And I thank you for the opportunity to share and to come on your show. And I'm honored because our discussion should let people know the things you have done and how you have impacted and given women an opportunity to have a voice and to be seen. And we don't do that enough. And I thank you for what you do and how you're reaching people. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Like I said, I could talk football all day long.
Yes,
That's
ma'am.
most of my Friends, no. Thank you so much.
Yes.
This is Debbie Elicksen. Thank you to my guest and to you, the viewer, for watching this episode of Locker Room for Growth. Please subscribe to this channel and check out our past shows and clips in the YouTube playlist. The show broadcasts from Treaty 7 on Turtle Island, the traditional territory of the Blackfoot people, which includes Siksika, Blood, Piikani, Tsuut'ina, Stoney Nakoda Nations, and Métis Nation Region 3. Again, thank you for watching and please subscribe.